Hello everyone, I'm Remy Remsleep and welcome to my show where I talk about split-screen Mario and you sit there and watch. So it's been a little while since I uploaded my last video essay, a couple years to be exact. The Mother Iceberg was a tremendous undertaking. Little what I realized at the time, how much effort it really took to make one of those freaking feature-length iceberg videos you see everywhere. So my hat's off to you for the love and support. I know I talk about the Mother series quite a lot on my channel already as it is, but there's another Nintendo franchise that it bears similar fondness to growing up. One that you've likely heard of, Super Mario. I am such a sucker for this fat John Oates looking hunk of a zygote. The simple fun of jumping around like a lunatic and kicking Koopa Caboose has made the wrinkles in my brain ooze dopamine inky paint like goop since the day I could lay my hands on a controller. However, after playing through all of these smackers predominantly alone throughout my entire life, I've developed a recent interest in revisiting these old games, to find a way to share the same experiences I've had, but with another, through multiplayer. Yeah, I know you get to play as Cappy in Odyssey and Mario's left toenail or whatever, but what about being able to play alongside Mario rather than just a part of him? I'm talking couch co-op, baby, split screen, two hands in a bag of chips, you know what I mean. The often described lost art of co-op games. Believe me when I say these such treasures do exist, and I hold the map. Ladies and gentlemen, in this video, I will be cataloging as many of these split-screen anomalies as I can. None of these exist in official capacity, of course, but many of which are either ROM hacks, mods, or full-blown fan games. To be clear, I'm only including games with split-screen functionality built into the games themselves rather than using external methods like Luigis Co-op, for example. So without further adoing, it's finally time to BLJ through that star door and talk about the hidden world of split-screen Mario. If you have a sibling or friend that you really want to get into Super Mario 64 but also want to play it as if you're growing up in the mid-90s, I can't think of a more perfect way than to play this. Super Mario 64 split-screen multiplayer. It's your basic Mario 64, but with the notable difference being that it's split-screen. Big shocker. Mario's on the top and Luigi's on the bottom. Now with double the pasta power, collecting all 120 stars that make up the game should now only take a fraction of the time, but with double the carnage. The game runs about as well as Mario 64 usually does, but there are some notable changes that prevent its perfection, such as the inability to open dialog boxes, as any action triggered after opening one just happens automatically. Don't know why that is, but it's not a deal breaker. The sliding poles and dire docks were once removed entirely, but I think that was fixed in the final update. And lastly, if you start a new game, Lackey 2 can no longer stop you from entering the castle like he usually does in the original. Maybe because him and the cloud that he rides on got into a disagreement, so now he's just locked outside. Aside from a few other visual unpleasantries, it works like a charm, and the fact that someone even got this thing to work in the first place is pretty incredible. But what if I told you that wasn't even the most interesting part? Let's talk about its backstory. Shigeru Miyamoto once stated while working on Mario 64 that they did indeed experiment with the implementation of multiplayer with Luigi, which we now have video evidence of after all these years. But he wasn't sure at the time if the Nintendo 64's hardware could do the job justice. That's when esteemed Mario 64 ROM hacker Kei's Manuar took this statement as a challenge and with much optimization and leftover code from the GigaLeak, made this, which is not only playable on an emulator, mind you, but also the traditional hardware Nintendo greatly underestimated. Ah yes, Super Mario Sunshine. Some people call it an unpolished mess of a game, while other people call it an underappreciated classic. For me, I just think of it as that one game where Mario goes to jail and dies of malnutrition. Just kidding about that last part, that doesn't actually happen. But now with Bowser and his new son Jr. getting involved in some shadowy business on the island, why not bring Luigi along in this next mod dubbed Sunshine Co-op, made by Norwegian developer the AZAC. Just patch the ROM with the X Delta patcher and it's pachinko time. Oh god, not that level. There are actually quite a few multiplayer hacks for Sunshine out there, one in which Shadow Mario is the player 2 instead of Luigi, which must be awkward for a regular Mario since, you know, we fucking framed him. But for the sake of consistency, this is the one I'll be focusing on because there is no better player 2 than Luigi himself, unless you're talking about his own games. Anyway, it isn't a perfect mod with the fact that Luigi has no distinct voice difference from Mario. At least Mario 64's split screen mod heightened his pitch a little bit to be more in line with how he used to sound at the time, but that isn't much much of a criticism mechanically speaking. Overall, I haven't had any glaring issues while playing this one. I do think that it's kind of dumb that you have to be in a close proximity to one another to actually collect a shine instead of giving Mario and Luigi the initiative to collect stars on their own like in the previous mod, but it easily makes up for this by letting you throw your friends off a building, because laughing at other people's misfortune is the first thing I think of when I play Super Mario Sunshine on the GameCube. A little fun fact for you, recently the AZAC did a speedrun of this mod at the ESA Winter 2024 event, all throughout discussing the mod's development, giving us little hits of insight and all that jazz. All in all, I highly recommend playing this and would love to see more Let's Plays of this hack on YouTube, because take it from me, it'll certainly make for one wild vacation. Now this is an interesting mod made by prevalent mod maker Mr. Broccoli, otherwise known as Broccoli Man on YouTube. Actually, this creator is responsible for a lot of the mods you'll find on this list, and I've been playing so many of Mr. Broccoli's mods that I'm basically vegan now. Yes, okay, thank you. So, what makes this mod so interesting anyway? Well, number one, it's Super Mario Galaxy. Fucking love that game. Secondly, this split-screen mod provides something that the previous mods I've mentioned before haven't, which is customizability. It gives you the option to toggle between multiple different split-screen variations. You could play the usual ham sandwich wrap like in Kaze's hack, or you can go right down the middle, similar to Sunshine Co-op, whichever suits your preference. On the downside, there are some irritable graphical issues that get in the way, particularly notable on the second screen. Frame rate issues, weird occasional artifacting, objects flickering and disappearing, you get the gist, it's pretty buggy. Maybe if you want to mess around with it for a few minutes knowing of its flaws, but making a serious playthrough out of it just doesn't seem feasible in its current state, at least to me. Also, I know I complained about Luigi sounding like Mario in the last one, but Luigi is already in this game, so why does he still sound like Mario? You have no excuses this time. You should be burned alive. Kidding. I can imagine after some further polishing, this mod can truly be the definitive co-op for Galaxy we all wanted. But in the meantime, let's take our warp star to the second galaxy. That is right, my friends, it's finally time to talk about that one game Nintendo didn't include in the Mario 3D All-Stars bundle. Probably because Taco Bell over here takes up 90% of the cartridge space with his adorable baby fat. I'm merely joking here, but seriously, I love this character. Why is he not in more Mario games? Anyway, Super Mario Galaxy 2 split-screen mod has had quite a turbulent history, once being developed by Mr. Bean 35000 VR and his sister Chatters, who, if you haven't heard of them, are modding pioneers in their own right, most notably being among the first to make mods for Mario Kart Wii and creating CTGP Revolution, a massive mod pack that is pretty great. From the look of their Super Mario Galaxy 2 split-screen mod, I can honestly say the same thing. Despite being in early development, it looks pretty good. There are no obvious distortions or glitches apparent from the footage alone, but sadly, footage is all that it will remain, as the mod was quietly cancelled for reasons that aren't completely certain, probably because they wanted to work on other projects or due to the creators being continuously harassed about it. Awesome. Luckily, that's not the end of our story, however, as a familiar face has come to claim the mantle. Bear in mind that Mr. Broccoli's version of this mod is still in its beta version, yet it suffers from many of the same issues as his Galaxy 1 mod. Not surprised by that, since they both run on the same engine. I don't know, maybe I'm just not setting up the game the right way to get better results. Either or, I'm still impressed by Mr. Broccoli's work. He seems to be a newcomer in the modding scene, but has already made some pretty incredible things. I have faith that he will return to these mods one day, but for now, here is some funny footage I captured.
Dear Mario.
In 2009, a young chap by the name of Reed Digit woke up one morning and said, "I'm gonna make my own Mario game where players can make their own levels." And that's exactly what happened, leading to one of the best feeling Mario fan games I've ever laid my cold dead fingers on. Though most of you have probably never heard of it, you've probably heard of the time Nintendo tried to shut it down many years ago, perhaps so they could prove to everybody that it was their idea. Super Mario Bros. X is its name, a completely built from the ground up Mario engine that combines all the best aspects of 2D Mario into one game. You can pick up objects and some enemies and throw them into Satan's moldy bathtub we called a pit like in Mario 2, fly the Tanuki suit as presented in Mario 3, or do that devastating spin jump thingy like in Mario World. It is the full package, but that's not even scratching the surface of what this game can do. And of course, for the first time ever in a 2D Mario game, it also includes a 2-player split screen option, transforming into one screen when you are in close proximity to one another. Something that should be in every Mario game, but isn't. How fun. It can be a little jarring when the screens merge back and forth at times, but it's far from a deal breaker. Playing 2D Mario with a friend has never felt so right before I picked this one up. Though I do enjoy multiplayer to some degree in Mario's official side-scrolling entries, it can get a little crazy with just one screen. We've all been there before. I think this is an excellent solution to that problem, and if Mario X's aspect ratio was just a little wider, it would be even more so. Interesting tidbit, apparently Reed Digit would go on to create a little-known game called Terraria. Yes, he made that game. Oh baby baby, it's a wild world. Now here are a couple of mods I wanted to add to this list, none of which star our main plumber, but rather his compadres, if you count Wario as one of them. Wario World was very weird, an unlikely experimental addition to the Wario series, and though it didn't sell as well as other Mario-related games on the GameCube, it's a fine game, and a very underappreciated one at that. I've been playing through it on my channel actually, and absolutely attest to this, it's fucking phenomenal. So when I found out that co-op mod wizard Mr. Broccoli made a split-screen mod for this game as well, I of course jumped in my Wario jalopy and got sloppy. What I didn't expect was how fucking amazing it was. Something about having 2 Warios on the screen amused me to no end. This mod is much like Sunshine Co-op in its quality as well. I haven't run into many game-breaking issues while playing, not saying that they don't exist, but they're not as in-your-face as Galaxy Co-op, for example. I think that just might be a thing with Wii games mostly. We're just not at that threshold, I'm assuming. One thing that I thought was cool is that whenever you pause the game, the dual screens transition into one, which is something we haven't seen before with these mods, surprisingly. It's such a huge shame that this mod is so overlooked. Both Warios work as they should, and the game runs just fine on average. So next time you have a buddy over, check this one out and let me know if you run into any freaky glitches along the way. But in the meantime, put that garlic away and whip out that poltergust, cause things are about to get a little green. The Luigis Mansion split screen mod is a unique backstory to it since it's the only mod that wasn't developed by a fan, but technically Nintendo themselves. Let me explain. After tinkering with Luigi's Mansion's inner workings, mod maker Kirby Mimi discovered an unfinished split screen co-op setting within the game's code, leading us to believe that Luigi's Mansion was at one point during development going to have some sort of multiplayer functionality, but was inevitably scrapped for unknown reasons. And just like the Alice Real situation, which insanely turned out to be true after nearly 30 years, M is also real. Yes, they found a separate model of Mario in the game, stretched to Luigi's height, poltergust straps and all. Go watch Swinky Box's video about it, it'll catch you up to speed. Now, as for the split screen gameplay itself, is it any good? Well, it's very, very rough around the edges. Keep in mind that the code for this mod was unfinished before Kirby Mimi made some proper adjustments, but even then it's not enough to fully recommend either. Player 2 is sadly only useful for taking hit points off of ghosts and sabotaging cutscenes if you want to have a good laugh. But that's not the worst part. Remember how Mario X's split screen collapses into one whenever you get close together? Well, this mod does that too, but it looks like this. All in all, it's really cool to see that Nintendo was considering this at one point, and what we already have here is a nice proof of concept. It's certainly fun to mess around with, but if you're looking for a serious playthrough, it's just not here quite yet. Luigi's Mansion does, however, have a very committed modding community, so I don't doubt at some point in the future, a fully functioning split-screen mod could surface at some point in the future. We already got this far, so just keep your flashlight on you at all times, because you never know. Here's an honorable mention, Pikmin 2 Split Screen by Pickhacker, the only split screen mod on this list that goes up to 4 players. That's right, 4. Olimar, Louis, the mayor, and Olimar's wife, all stranded on this Earth-like planet, and with each other. Aww. In the 2.0 version of the mod, you can actually choose from even more characters like Alf from Pikmin 3, Master Shake from Aqua Teen Hunger Force, Morshu, and my personal favorite, Old Man Jenkins from SpongeBob. Dreams do come true. With so many players running around, it must be easy to break the game, right? Not too much actually. From what I've played myself and seen online, it works pretty much as it should aside from the wonky looking cutscenes. It is fun to steal each other's Pikmin and hash through the game together. It might keep you stranded for quite a while. So if my critiques came off as unwarranted at any point during this video, please bear in mind that I am not an expert like a lot of these folks are. I can only imagine the sheer amount of splinters and thorns these creators had to crawl through in order to make these mods work as well as they do. It's thanks to passionate fans like these that we get to have a certain itch scratch that Nintendo would otherwise neglect. Not to undermine Nintendo's own ingenuity when it comes to making games, Super Mario Wonder, for example, added some really fun and creative spins to the series as well as a new art style. I just wish that they would experiment more with split-screen co-op in future titles, as it's proven to be a very enjoyable experience and much less chaotic than just sharing one screen as mentioned previously. I think some people might appreciate that. It's thanks to projects like Case's split screen hack, Next 64, EX Co-op and now Co-op DX that I can play through Mario 64 with both of my siblings individually, sharing the adventure, collecting stars together, and obliterating that pit of isolation that can occur when playing single player games.
Wait, don't worry about going past the bridge, I got an idea. Oh, please make it. Ow! Okay, I'm not doing that again. That is stupid.
And even playing through new interpretations of these games that can enhance the experience, like Super Mario Star Road or Sunshine Eclipse. You get to play as Patissimo in that one. Fuck yeah. Fan games like Mother Encore and Star Fox Grounded always breaking the mold of what we expect from these franchises, often including new gimmicks and quality of life features that can really make things feel refreshing and in some cases more enjoyable than some of the official games. Let's just put it this way. The more we get out of these franchises we've all grown up with, the riveting experiences they provide, fan-made or official, I think, the better. If there are any split-screen Mario-related games or mods that I may have missed while making this video, do let me know down in the comments section. I am always eager to learn more about stuff like this. And as always, dear viewers, thank you so much for watching.